It is Sunday, February 16th. It's day 28 of the Trump presidency, and I have been cooking and cleaning all day, possibly in preparation for the colonies. Time will tell. Let's get into it, shall we? Trump wants the Supreme Court to permit the firing of the head of a federal agency that protects whistleblowers. I don't think I have to tell you why that's problematic. He has filed an emergency appeal with the Supreme Court. It's tough, and we're going to find out again. I think we're going to have a lot more information within the next 7 to 14 days about whether or not Trump is going to comply with court orders telling him he has to comply with the law, and also about whether or not the law will uphold itself. Will the Supreme Court rule in favor of the law or in favor of Trump? And time will tell. Their sort of firing rampage continues, right? We knew that. He has been, Trump and his administration, or I don't know. I don't even know how much Trump really has his hands in all of this, or if it's mostly Elon. But anyways, FDA employees are getting fired. Essentially, it's almost all probationary employees across all the agencies. It's going to be over 5,200 people when all is said and done, and perhaps more than that. I don't know that they're only going to be firing probationary employees. They just are firing, I believe, all of them. So they're firing all of the probationary employees that have anything to do with food safety, medical devices, and tobacco. They're gone. And I'm sure, I think most people who are working in government agencies at this point understand that this is probably what's coming. Not that they've had much time to prepare, but just that this is the reality. And again, will some of these people be reinstated? I mean, the Trump administration is scrambling, trying to replace or bring the people back that they fired from, the nuclear department that were protecting our nuclear arsenal, because they didn't realize that that was what they did, which is, I think that tracks when you have a bunch of literal 19-year-old kids who have no idea what the hell's going on performing these mass firings across these facilities. Sorry, my cat just drooled on my hand. Welcome to having too many pets, and they're all drooling on me all day. And this actually ties directly into the next story anyways. So the Justice Department and also obviously the Doge bags are being used to perform political assassinations. I mean, they are firing people out of retribution in some instances. Right now, the Justice Department is going after, very specifically, they're demanding the names of everyone in the FBI that was involved in anything to do with January 6th. And also, they're investigating the Attorney General who prosecuted Trump for fraud. Obviously, they're ordering the dismissal of the case against Eric Adams. I mean, they're using the government like a blunt instrument to punish Trump's opponents. They said that they were going to do this, so I don't know why any of us are surprised. I think that there is just, again, a feeling or a desire for someone to step in and uphold justice. But I think that maybe what we're learning is that we allowed the system to be infiltrated. Oh man, what is that one? Dang it. There is a law that has to do with billionaires lobbying in politics and using their money to essentially buy our government. Gosh darn it. I've said it so many times, and I'm sure somebody in the comments will be able to think of it. Anyways, when money got into politics in the particular way that it did, and it was no longer illegal to spend millions and or sometimes billions of dollars lobbying for laws that you want and also when corporations were determined to be people, I think that's when the steep decline really, really started. And I think that this is the aftermath of that, is that we have a whole entire government that's been bought and paid for. And we have a bunch of people that lied on stand to get into the Supreme Courts, into other courts, into their positions. I mean, almost all of Trump's, sorry, I just keep thinking about Pete Hegseth. Someone did a really great analysis of whether or not Pete Hegseth was drinking alcohol on the stand. And they were talking about how every time he picked up the glass where he was just taking these weird tiny sips, which if it was water, you would never do that. You would just take like a normal sip, because like taking tiny sips like you do if it's like really strong alcohol. Anyways, every time he picked up that glass, he put his hand in his pocket, which the person who's doing this analysis was talking about how that indicates like shame or hiding something. Anyways, his body language, I do think, is indicative that he was likely drinking on the stand. Again, like, you're going to ask an alcoholic if they're going to stop drinking and they're going to say yes. Like, come on. Being someone who is 15 years sober, like, don't be that stupid, please. In any case, you know, there's a bunch of people that are very arguably DEI hires. They're hired for their white supremacy, their white skin, and their willingness to do whatever Trump says. Like, to me, that's like the fucking definition of DEI. They didn't get those jobs on merit. They didn't earn those jobs. They were given those jobs because they're loyal to Trump. So we have a whole government full of those people, and people that are also loyal to the dollar above all things, right? That are weak people who can be bought and paid for. So we don't really have a safeguard. I want to be optimistic, and maybe a part of me has some hope left, but it's not because of the people that are supposed to be leading right now. It's not on either side, for that matter. I mean, there's a few people that I do trust on the Dem side, but there's not enough of them. There simply isn't. And I don't think that's what's going to do it. I think I've told you, I think that climate change is going to be the thing that saves us. And time will tell if I'm right. Netanyahu is planning to follow through with Trump's plan on Gaza. And he released a statement after the hostage exchange saying that it is the only viable plan for a different future. There's just so many tragic things happening simultaneously right now. And, you know, I can't imagine what it feels like to try to return to your home after war, to see that it has been completely destroyed, demolished. I mean, I've actually seen cooking videos on TikTok of people cooking Palestinian food in their old home somehow, even though, like, you look out the window, like the view out the window is just rubble. And I think that it feels, I'm sure, wonderful to those people to be there. And I know for a fact they don't want to leave. And I also know that if this is the plan, Netanyahu will stop at nothing. Anyways, it's a very dark situation and very sad. And I hope that, I don't know. I hope that other countries are willing to step up and intervene here, because obviously I think a lot of countries are now coming to terms with the fact that the United States is no longer on the side of justice. Not that we ever were perfectly on the side of justice. And I understand that. And that's a very long discussion. No one is arguing that the United States has done a perfect job or even a good job. But what I am saying is now, like, all masks are off and it's just pure evil. And I'm sitting here in this country, and I think we can all see that moving forward, no one can count on this country for anything, including the people that Trump is making deals with, backdoor deals with, like Israel. They shouldn't count on him either, and neither should Russia. There should be no assumptions. In fact, today I actually heard a really somewhat convincing argument for why it's likely that Trump has Alzheimer's. And I guess there's a bunch of rumors about him wandering the White House halls at night, having to be like guided back to his room, and talking about like how he, like him standing on a stage and saying that he stole the election several times, like after he won. Or no, I guess it was before he won. And I think maybe he said it after he won too. Yeah, he did. That is actually a symptom of Alzheimer's. And that it was somebody discussing like their own family members' years with Alzheimer's, and how in the beginning, some of the first symptoms were that person started revealing all these family secrets in these very uncomfortable situations where it was totally inappropriate. In any case, a piece of me wonders if Elon is there because they all know that he has Alzheimer's and like he can't actually lead. I don't know. Again, time will tell with all of this stuff, but he's not a reliable person, even with his current dictator buddies. So he very well, I would never be surprised to see him get into a war with Russia, with one of those people, because he doesn't actually have any loyalty to anyone. 9 people died in Kentucky in flooding in the last several days. They had to perform over 1,000 rescues to get people that were stranded in their vehicles, to get them out. FEMA has been deployed. Interestingly enough, Trump signed off on that. Thought that they were getting rid of FEMA. I thought that FEMA was I don't know. I don't think he called them a terrorist organization, but something along those lines. He called them corrupt. I mean, everything's corrupt according to him, right? Unless the money is directly in his pocket. In any case, very sad situation. Again, we're going to see more and more and more storms like that. And we're going to run out of resources to be able to rebuild these locations. I mean, I don't think that particular storm is going to be a storm where lots and lots of homes need to necessarily, maybe, you know what, it's possible that they will need to restore homes and buildings, but hopefully not demolished in the same way that the fires just demolished everything in LA. That being said, like, this stuff costs hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to even just, like, you know, helicopter rescues are not cheap. Boat rescues are not cheap. All this stuff is really, really expensive, and we're going to see more and more of it. So McConnell and Trump are having a public fight, unsurprisingly. And, you know, I wonder if McConnell in his last days here is sitting here maybe having any kind of regret that he fed this monster and let it through the gates, you know? In any case, McConnell voted against confirming RFK because of RFK's stance on vaccines. And now Trump is publicly calling him like bitter and saying he doesn't believe he really had polio as a child, which is just trashy as usual. He's a trashy person. And you know, corruption in the end ends up harming the person that set it in motion. You know, I mean, like, all of these people that have participated in this are going to end up harmed by it. And it's hard to feel sympathy when, you know, we're all paying the price collectively because of this. In any case, Ukraine now has also officially not been invited to the peace talks between US and Russia. Again, not surprised, not at all. There is an emergency meeting, I believe, either tomorrow or Tuesday in Europe with amongst European leaders to try to figure out what to do about Ukraine and Russia and Europe in general. They're going to need to protect themselves from us now. and that's smart. And Ukraine has also made an official statement saying, like, we're not going to participate in your peace if it doesn't include anything to do with us. I guess the United States went to Ukraine trying to demand access to their resources, like their minerals, and offered nothing in return. It's just not good. I'm not like, none of this is surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised by any of this. I think again, the United States is going to end up isolated the way that a woman who is being abused by a narcissist gets isolated. We won't have any friends. There won't be anyone to help us, which is sad because there's literally close to 300 million people in this country that didn't vote for him and that probably don't want anything to do with this. And now his supporters are also starting to flip, which I want to feel some hope in that. And it's not that I don't. It's just that I'm not entirely sure what we can do now besides let this run its course, but we'll see. Trump quoted almost directly Hitler yesterday. I'm sorry. It's not funny. That's the last story too. He said, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." Hitler's exact quote was, "The good of the state stands above the law." So it's interesting because there's like a whole list of, it was like Mussolini, Napoleon, Trump, Hitler. I can't remember who else. There's all these versions of the same quote, the same sentiment. Yeah, man. Like, they're literally using the exact playbook from Hitler. Like, yes, correct. And actually, what's interesting about it is it's also the narcissist's playbook in general. I'm not saying Hitler was a narcissist. He was probably a psychopath or a sociopath. I think Trump is very much probably just a garden variety narcissist. I think people underestimate how evil a narcissist can be. He is very textbook. He may have some other antisocial. I hesitate to call him dark triad because you need to be a lot smarter than Trump, really, honestly. I think to belong in that category. I think Putin is probably dark triad. I don't know. I think Trump is just a series of unfortunate circumstances that collided into a skin suit and is a real big problem for the rest of us. And I think that the people who are pulling his puppet strings understand him very well now. And, I think that's why a little kid is telling him to shut the fuck up on camera, because I think that they know he's ill. I think that they have a deal with him. And I think that's why. Like, why is he doing all of his public engagements only with Elon there now? Unless they're planning to come out as a gay couple, that's also possible. I'm pretty sure it's because, Elon is his handler. Speaking of Elon, I guess I will give you one more. I'll give you a gossip story instead. Elon just had his 13th child with some random right-wing influencer. Ironically, she had made some comment about Kamala bending over to get ahead by any means necessary, like bending over for dudes. That's interesting. Elon is like trolling her on X. Some random other, I think, far right dude he put together this whole like list of reasons why he thinks that girl, I don't even know her name. I had never heard of her. He put together this whole list of reasons why he thinks that girl had targeted Elon specifically for his money and was like trying to get pregnant by Elon, yada, yada. And so Elon responds back publicly to that tweet and says, "Whoa, And then she responds back publicly to Elon's woe tweet and says, "Hey, Elon, I've been trying to get a hold of you for several days now in regards to your baby." I mean, and then a bunch of other stuff about Elon posting pictures of her on X of like her when she was 15. It's so messy and so bizarre. These people are so sick, so mentally ill. I just want to vomit. Just in time for RFK to ban all mental illness medications. And their entire cabinet desperately needs them. Anyways, I'm sorry. If I don't laugh, I'm going to throw up. I'm not even going to cry. I'm skipping from crying to throwing up. Anyways, tomorrow is President's Day. I think Google needs to really cancel that. If you're going to start canceling all this shit, cancel that. Because it sounds like we're not going to have another president, right? Oh, I think that, are they already campaigning for 2028? I feel like maybe they've started talking about it. Nothing to see here, kids. Just the death of our democracy. See you tomorrow.